wow, super awkward. It's on and you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say?
No, I'm just checking the
Hey,
stream.
guys. Hey dudes, what's up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hi there.
Go ahead and shut the door. Oh my gosh, my fiance is making fun of me for streaming.
Huh?
It's live right now. They're all upset with you. Okay, everyone wants you to leave because they want to see me program. Love you. Alright, so let's see here. Okay, so I removed the inventory stuff that we did yesterday on the client side because it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be in the server. I did get the world object system working, so let me go ahead and just reopen these projects up here. Alright, so here we go. This is for the server. And let's get the client back up. Okay, let's go ahead and run this, make sure our world object system is working fine, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a development branch for the inventory system, and we'll go ahead and we'll go from there. Okay, so let's see here. What do I want to do? Alright, let me open up this Restream chat so you can see. Okay. Alright, so we are live and good to go. Alright, so what I'm going to do here. Wow, that what just happened there? Okay. Whoops. Set it to 1? Oh, okay, I don't know. Alright, so what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just run the server here. And we'll run the client. So the server is going to spawn a sword as a world object, which is correct. And if I log in here to the game, oh, and I still need to create an offline mode. We're going to go ahead and log in here with admin 57. Okay, and here we go. You can see that there is a sword in the game. Alright, so we're good there. Everything is working just fine. What I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and create the item system and the inventory system again, but inside the server this time. So before I actually do anything, I want to do git init. Whoops. Alright, we're here to git status. Alright, these are just temp files that were changed. I'm not super concerned about this. Hey, what's up, Al? How's it going? So what I'm going to do is I need to close these out real quickly so I can make a new branch. Okay. And let's do a git status. No changes added to commit. Use git add and or git commit -a. So these are just like editor files, so I'm not super worried about those. I do need to add them though. So git add here. And let's see here, git status. Okay, yeah, this is just weird. It's just library stuff. It's all ignored anyways. So what I'm going to do here now is I want to just to get rid of it, I do need to do a git command, git commit to get rid of it. So git commit -m. Let's see here, git commit -m current layout. These are just random project files. We'll go ahead and say. And if I do a git status, we're good. Okay, sweet. Out of its origin by one commit, use git push. Git push. There we go. Git status. Your branch is up to date and working. Okay, sweet. Alright, so it's going to be 3D now. Yes, this is going to be a 3D MMO. Originally I wanted to do it 2D, but unfortunately I could not find the asset packs that I really enjoyed for a 2D game. So I've decided that I'm going to do it 3D because there's more opportunity when it comes to finding complete asset packs. So when we get into like all sorts of content for this, it's just easier to do it in 3D. I'm also working with a level designer right now to design the starting town. So doing it in 3D will be, I think, more fun. I think more people would find it more interesting. If someone can come across a 2D pack, maybe I'll change it. But going forward, everything will be designed for a 3D MMO. Alright, so a lot of that stuff really won't matter until we actually have visual content. So right now we're just going to continue writing framework code. Alright, so what I want to do is I'm going to be working on the inventory system. So I want to say get branch. So I want to create a new branch. So we're going to say get branch dash B. And let's go and call it inventory. No? Hold on. What is it? Get branch inventory, and then we have get branch. Okay, and then we can switch to the inventory. So we'll say get checkout the inventory, switch to branch inventory. So if I do get branch, all right, we're on the inventory branch. Good. All right, so let's go ahead and we can minimize that. We can go ahead and open up our server. All right, this is where we're going to be doing all of our inventory code. And we will, let's see. So let's go ahead and open up our client as well. Alright, so what's important to remember is that the client is like a shell. It basically is just visuals. All the logic and game handling is done on the server. Everything is on the server, the client is just a visual aspect of it. So what we're going to do here is open up the client, and we are going to define what an item is first, and then we're going to create that database on the server. And when we go to the client side of things, the client's only responsible for a icon. It's just an icon. It has no knowledge, or it doesn't even have to, it has no knowledge of anything about the item. It's just an icon. The server is who has knowledge about the item and everything so forth. Alright, so here we are on the server. Networking. Let's go ahead and we're going to organize this a bit. So here I sort of world items, scripts, get rid of that. Alright, so we're going to organize this sort of how I wanted to do it here. And it would make more sense that way. So here, player info, these are client scripts. On the server here, let's go and organize this a bit. So here we have, let's go and call it server. All right, we have our server scene. Okay. Inside our server, we'll have a contents folder. Okay, inside here, we'll have player folder. Inside there, we'll go the player prefab. Let's see here. Let's see, prefab's way to the player. That will go there. Inside there, we'll also have our scripts. So let's see here. We have our utilities in the server. We have our contents, or just content. Let's see here. We have our player. We have our prefabs for the player. All of our networking stuff. Okay, we'll put that in here. Okay. So I think we're good. I can delete this. World items will go inside content. So here we have player, our prefabs for the player, our world items, and then we have all of our world items in there. Okay, so here we go. So we have our player prefab, everything else is good. Save this. We can get rid of this folder. Alright, so now it's much more organized how I want it. What we're going to do now is inside the player here, we're going to create a new folder called inventory. Alright, and this is going to host the inventory system. So before we can do anything with it, we're going to go ahead and create a new C# script called item. A new folder called item. And inside there, a C# script called item. Alright, we're going to start this really small. Alright, we only need the basics of the item. So what we're doing is we're just defining a blueprint for this item. So yesterday I kind of went into more detail with it. I'm not going to do that this time. We're going to make it a lot more simpler, and we'll add to it as we need to. When we delete all these, it's a pure C# class, pretty much just a blueprint. And every item has an ID, public int or here, every item has a name, we'll say. Public int ID, right? Every item has an ID. Public string name, and public string description. Right, so every item has these three things in common: an ID, a name, and a description. Okay, so for now that's all I need. We need a constructor for this item. So public item, and we're going to pass in, when we create an item, we're going to pass in an ID, a string item name, and a string item description. So here, item ID. Now we need to assign this instance of the item to the parameters passed in. So we say this.id is going to equal the item ID. This.name equals the item name you created. And then this.description equals the item description. Now, all the items in the item database is going to be hosted on the server. And essentially what we're going to do eventually is this will be hosted on our website database, and we'll basically pull in a document and we'll create all of these. That way we can easily add new items to the server via the website much easier. I can create like a tool on the website to create new items and add them to the database. Alright, so here's our item system. What we can do now is we can go ahead and create our inventory system. Right, so we have our content, we have our player, scripts. Oops, sorry, it's on the client. Let's go to the server. Alright, so here we go. We have our item class there, which is good. What I want to do now is we're going to go ahead and create our inventory class for the player. So this is going to be inventory. Alright, and this I believe is going to be this is going to be a network. This is going to be a network behavior, so that we can sync it across the network. And actually it might not be, but let me see here. Unity engine. And we'll go ahead and use network. Oh my gosh, kill me. Alright, so network behavior. Now, it might not actually need to be network behavior because it is just on the server. So actually, I don't know if it needs to be network behavior. I don't think it will hurt if it's a network behavior, but no, you know, let's just keep it mono behavior for now. Alright, so that, and here, we're actually going to turn this into a mono singleton. We're going to say mono singleton and of type inventory. Alrighty. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say protected override. Wow, like nothing is syncing right now. Hold on. I need to fix the IntelliSense. That's the one thing I hate about Visual Studios and Unity. The IntelliSense goes away so often. Alrighty, hold on. Preparing solution. Okay. So we have our inventory, and it's a mono singleton so that we can easily access it. We're going to add protected override void in it. Yep, here we go. Alright, we'll go ahead and say here debug.log. Inventory initialized. Alright, inventory initialized. And what else do we want to do here? Alright, inventory initialized. I think we're okay for now. I don't know if this mono singleton needs to be a network behavior. I don't see why it would be. Yeah, I think that's okay. So here we go. So we got our inventory here, inventory initialized. We have our item class here, which is good. Now I want to be able to see this for debugging purposes in the inspector. So we're going to say system.serializable. That's going to make it so that this class will be serialized into the Unity inspector. And let's see here, if we're going to add anything else. Inside the inventory, we're going to have some functions that we can do. Here we're going to say void awake. I'm just going to call the init method so that it wakes up. Alright, we're just going to say init. That will wake it up at the start. And then what I want to do now is, let's see here. What do I want to do? What can we do with the inventory, right? So we can add items. So public void add item, and we can add an item by the item ID. And then we can also remove an item by the item ID. And we'll go through that logic again. Remove item by the item ID. Alright, that's saved. Add item, remove item. Go ahead and save this. Let's see here. Add item, remove item. Save it. Let's add it to our network player. Alright, so here's our player. And we're going to give him this inventory script. Alright, so the inventory is going to be hosted on the server. And basically we're just going to send a display back to the client. And the reason why we're going to do this is the best, honestly, it's just the best way to do it. It's how you're supposed to do it. Because what happens if you disconnect? Well, it's okay because the server will save your inventory. So when you log back in, you know, you have less chance of data loss. The only time you're going to have data loss is if the server crashes. And to prevent other types of data loss, we'll create some sort of cycle-based save event. But really, we only want to save information when we have to. So, okay, we have the inventory. Now let's go and make it so we can actually see something in the inspector. To do that, the inventory is going to hold an array of items. All right, so we're going to say you have 28 slots in your inventory. So here, we're going to have public item array. And we're going to call this items. All right, so these are the items you have equals a new item array. Okay, and size is 28. All right, save this, head back to Unity. We should see it in the inspector on our player if I were to bring it in. Actually, I shouldn't even have to. I think I should see it right here. Yep. All right, so check it out. Here's the player's inventory on the server. And now we can see that we have, you can create items, right? You can go ahead and create item ID 0, name, description, all that good stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a null, we're going to create some items. So we need an item database. So inside item, we have item, and then here we have the item database. The database is going to be used to store all the types of items we have. So it's going to basically pull the file off the server and create the item database. All right, so here, item database is going to be a mono singleton of type item database. All right, we're going to go ahead and implement the protected member override in it. And in here, we're going to go ahead and say debug.log item database initialized. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is also wake it up. So void awake. We need to go ahead and call init. Alrighty. Alright, so what goes on in the item database? It's really simple. Basically, we just have a list of items. So here we're going to have a public list of type item, and we'll call this items equals a new list of type item. Alright, all it is it stores the list of items that you can collect in the game. Alright, and it has all the item properties. Easy enough, right? So we'll go ahead and save this, put the item database on, let's see here, move the client to the side for a second. Here's our network manager. And maybe, I think I'm going to call this, I guess I can access it from here, network manager. We'll go ahead and put it on there for now, maybe, but let's see here. Ideally, I think I want to clean this up to be manager. No, I might keep it that way. I'm going to create a new empty EM object here. We're going to call this item database. Alright, and we're going to add the item database script. And you can see here, we can create, if I wanted to, if I had like a designer or something like that, I could have him come in here, create 500 elements, create 500 items. Each one has an ID, a name. So like item ID 0, name. We're going to say null, null, description, null. This will be our null element. And then here, ID would be 1. We'll go ahead and make a sword. Description, this is a sword. So I could have a designer come through here and just create this. Alright, so we're going to save the item database like that. Alright, let's go ahead now, and what we need to do is have the ability to add an item to the player. So, in order to do that, right, when the player hits space, I want to give them an item for now. Ideally, when they actually, let's do it where when they click that sword game object, I want to delete that sword game object, and then I want to add that to their inventory. In order to do that, we need to fill in the logic for adding something to an inventory. Okay, so this is kind of where I wish I didn't delete the old one from yesterday, but we're going to rewrite it here. So when you add an item, you need to first check if the item exists. And then here, if it exists, you need to check for available inventory slot. Okay, so check for available inventory slot. Alrighty, so here, how do we do this? So first check if the item exists. We need to parse the items database, and we need to check for the valid item based off this ID. Alright, pretty easy. So we're going to use link to do that. We're going to say using system.link. Going to run this. System.link. We're going to come over to here. We're going to say var requested item equals, we're going to say item database dot instance dot items dot first or default, and we're going to find the item who matches the item ID that we passed in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a func, and it's going to take in an item, and it's going to return a bool. All right, and I believe it's going to also return a bool, and it's going to give me that item. So here we're going to say item goes to item.id matches the item ID that we pass in. So here we're going to iterate through the entire database. We're going to find the first item whose ID matches the item ID, and we're going to return it to a requested item. Easy enough, right? Pretty simple. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to check if the requested item is not null. Requested item not equal null. We found the item. Check for available inventory slot is what we're doing next. Here we go. We're going to say check for available inventory slot. Alright, so we found the item in the database. Check for available inventory slot. So we're going to say, how do we do that? We need to check for available inventory slots. So the inventory slot is 28 slots. We're going to assume the inventory is going to be completely null. So that's how we'll know if you have an empty slot. If the object space is null, meaning there's no item there, then we can put an item there. Alright, so here we're going to go ahead and say, get the slot. So we're going to say for loop, and we're going to say for int I equals 0, while I is less than the items dot length, that's our inventory. We're going to say I++, and in here we're going to say items I. I'm sorry, we're actually going to do a check. We're going to check to see if it's a null item. So here, the name is going to be null. Okay, so here what we can do is we can say, or actually we can just check for item ID 0, right? So we can say if items, the current item dot ID matches 0, which is a null item. What we can do here? We have here found available slot. Alright, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and say items I equals the requested item. Alright, so that's going to populate that item slot with the item that we gave them. Alright, now one thing I want to do is what if we found the item, but I don't have enough space, right? I don't have enough space, so what we want to do is we want to drop it on the floor. So if the requested item wasn't null, but they don't have enough space, here, handle logic for dropping item on floor for player. Alright, so here we're actually going to create a variable. We're going to say var slot available equals false. So slot available equals false. If we don't find anything, if we find something, found available slot, we're going to go ahead and say slot available equals true. Or here, found slot and found slot The item stats are going to be on the client side. No, the item stats will also be on server side. The visuals for the item stat will be on the client side. But no, the inventory, the items, the player, everything is actually going to be on the server side. So we found the item. We check for available inventory slots. We items.length I plus plus. If items ID is 0, so this is a null. We found an available slot. Found slot is true. We do this, and then we want to break. We want to get out of this loop. We're only adding one item. And then here, we're handling logic for dropping on the floor. So if found slot equals false, then handle logic for dropping item for floor. Makes sense, right? So if found slot equals false, and we'll go ahead and just add we'll add a message eventually, but this is what's going to go in there. Cool. All right, save that. We're good here. All right, now we're going to do something very similar for the remove item. All right. Check for valid remove item. Check for valid remove. Check for valid remove item ID. All right, make sure the item you're trying to remove actually exists. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say var item requested. Same thing, equals, hey, what's up, yays? How's it going? We're going to do this line right here. This is going to check if the item exists. So here, first check if the item exists. Okay, if the item exists, then we can continue. All right, and if we ever make it here, then if we make it this far, the item doesn't exist. All right, if we make it this far, the item doesn't exist, and I believe we also want to, if the item is null, we're going to go ahead and handle that logic. If found slot equals false, and then here we're going to say return. And then here, after we break, I'm sorry, we're actually going to add the return here so that it never makes it below it. Oh no, you know, I'm sorry, I don't even need that. I can just add an else here. Alright, so if the requested item is not null, we found the item, else we're just going to go ahead and say here, whoops, debug.log, debug.log, invalid item ID. Or here, we'll say trying to add invalid item ID. Trying to add invalid item ID. Okay, sweet. That's good. No, but I started learning it well. I am. Hello, my friend, can you speak German? Ha, I do not speak German. Only English, unfortunately. We're making a 3D MMO right now. Right now we're doing the inventory system client server side. So the server side is going to host all the inventory logic. The client side is going to represent it. Alright, so let's go ahead and check this out. We have here removing items. So when we add an item, we're going to add it if found slot, all that. Now to remove an item, it's the same process. So first check if the item exists. So if the requested item, if requested item does not equal null, that means it exists. Okay. We found the item. Now we need to check if it's in the player's inventory. Right? So here, check player inventory for the item, and then remove it. Alright, we should be able to do some link for this as well. So here we're going to go ahead and say, if requested item, we're going to check the player's inventory for this item and remove that item. The MMORPG is a kit for Unity. Hey, you making the emoji is nice. I can see the login. Yeah. I will demo the login here in just a minute for you. Yeah, this is a from scratch MMO. We're not using any kits or anything like that. We're writing all the networking code ourselves. It's using Unet's low-level API for it. Alright, so we found the item. Check the player's inventory for the item and then remove it. So here, I want to say var, we have the requested item. So what I can actually do is I need to find in their inventory if they have an item that matches the requested item. So here I can go ahead and say, I can say items dot, whoops, sorry. Yeah, I can say items dot contains perhaps, and that will check to see if it. Okay, so if items dot contains requested item, check the player for the item and then remove it. So if it, let's see, so items.contains requested items. And what does this do? That's going to return a bool. Items.contains requested item. Okay, I think this needs to belong, I think this belongs in an if statement. So here, if items.contains, we'll go ahead and say requested item. Okay. We have the item, remove it. Alright, so here we go. So if item.contains requested item, we have the item, remove it. So what we're going to do now is we are going to find the available, we're going to find the first slot that has the item and remove it. So we're going to say for int I equals 0, while I is less than the items.length in the inventory, I++. We're going to check the first slot. So we're going to say items I. And we're going to check the ID. If the ID matches the requested item.id, okay, so if items ID, put this all in an if statement. So here, if the ID in my first slot, whatever slot I'm on, matches the request item ID, we have a match. Found the item, now remove it. Alright, so now remove it. So here we found the item, now remove it. What we're going to do here is we're going to say items I will equal the null value, right? The null item. So here, so item database, I'm going to go ahead and actually make this very simple for us. We have a list of items here, and null is always going to be item 0. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and say public item null item. Hold on, public const, we're going to say public constant null item. Alright, and we're going to assign that, whoops, item. Okay, so we have a null item here. Constant field requires a value to be provided. What? Public constant item null value equals, shoot, how can I do this? I'm trying to think here. Public constant item null. By the way, I already know how to code in Unity. However, sometimes I feel like I haven't learned enough in order to do things that I want. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. Just keep at it. I have a question. The server can run on Linux vServer? Yes, the server can run on Linux in headless mode, and that's how I'll probably be distributing it. So I will run it on a server in headless mode, and the clients will be distributed for Windows and Mac. Alright, so here we go. So public constant item, we have a null item. And I want that to equal, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can just access the item database. Items 0. Can I? Maybe. Let's see if it lets me do that. Probably not. No. Okay, it's not going to like that. So that's kind of sucks, but it's okay. I can do it actually in here. We can do public, here, I'm going to add that public constant item null item. And then equals null. Ah, no, I can't do that though, because I want to assign it. Ah, that's annoying. Alright, well, it's not going to be constant then. So I'm just going to do here, public item, we're going to say null item. And then here, null item is always going to equal items and then 0. Alright? It's always going to equal the first item. Item 0 is always going to be null. So now what I can do here is in the inventory, I can say items I found the item, now remove it. I'm going to say item database dot instance dot null item. Actually, maybe I should even call that empty. What do you think? Empty item? Try that. Empty equals dot empty. Yeah, okay, I like that. Empty. Alright, and we're going to put this actually in our item database initialized. Alright, and okay, we'll put this above here. Okay, good deal. So now, let's go ahead and go back to our item inventory. Now we can say instance dot empty. All right, so it's an empty slot. All right, there we go. Items I equals item database instance dot empty. So it removes the item. All right, I think we are set. Let's see here. If items dot contains requested item, we have the item. Let's remove it. If not, then we do nothing, right? We don't remove it, so that's okay. All right, good deal. Let's go ahead and just test everything, make sure it works, so the new viewers can see this. Can you make a tutorial for headless mode for Linux server? I have a problem. Yeah, I can go ahead and sort of create a example for that. When I get involved with AWS, that's when I'll probably do that. I can show you how to do it on the. I can show you how to do it on Windows though. It's pretty easy. So here, let's see here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start the server. All right, we're gonna run the server, and we're gonna run the client. Okay, let's go ahead and log in here. All right, we'll log in with admin. Log in. All right, you can see here I see the sword, so I'll be able to click it and add it to my inventory. One thing also is if we look here, check this out. The player is spawned, it has an inventory, and it has a list of items. Now it has no items in its inventory, they're all null. So, and that's one thing I need to do too. I need to initialize it to be an empty item. And I think the best way to do that, so I can have it for debugging purposes, is I am going to change the item here. Because watch what happens if I take this name. I'm going to put that on top. Okay, so every item has a name, a ID, and a description. Alright, and then here, let's just swap these guys. ID. Alright, so we have a name, an ID, and a description. And if we go ahead and rerun this, the server. Alright, server's on, connected. Let's go ahead and log in. Pied Piper. Alright, you'll see here on the inventory now. Check it out. Oh, right, it's because it's null. Hold on. I want to set all of them to null. So I need to initialize the inventory system. So when we initialize the inventory system, right, I want all the objects to be null. So here we are going to say for each item. Alright, so here we have the items. I'm going to go ahead and say, are we using link? We are. So I should be able to say items dot like for each. No? Alright. Well, here we go. We're going to do this. So for int I equals 0, while I is less than the inventory, items dot length, I plus plus. We're going to take the current item. Okay, current item, which is I, and that's going to equal the item database dot instance dot empty. Okay. All right, let's save this, see if it works. I need to create that empty object, so I want it to be null and stuff like that, right? So here, inside the item database, we're actually going to create that first element. So it's 0, the name is going to be empty. All right, and ID is 0, description is null. So we'll save this. Let's go ahead and run it. And you'll see here when I log in on the player, admin, that just happened. Okay, hold on, I have to relog in. Whoops. Alright, so here we go. We'll log in with Pied Piper. Okay, and here we have the player, and check it out. Now we have all of these empty slots. See? So let me just go ahead and double check our code in the inventory here, make sure everything is good. When I'm adding an item, I just want to verify that, how am I adding it? If items I.id equals 0, so that's a null. Instead, what I can do here is I can check if items I equals item database dot instance dot empty. All right, so if we have an empty slot, found available slot, items I equals requested item. Pretty simple, right? So here, same thing. If items I.contains the requested item, we found the item. If items I.id equals the requested ID, then we remove it when we replace it with empty. All right, so we're here, we're done, we're good with the inventory, we have the item system, and we created the item database. Next, what we need to do is we need to create a sword item. Okay, so here we have our sword, which is item ID 1. So what I want to do is when I click the sword, I want to add it to the player's inventory. Okay, so we're going to hop over now to some client code. Okay, and here, and I'll show you guys real quickly how to run this in the server mode. So check this out. I'm going to go ahead and create a new build of the server. Here's how you run this in headless mode. Rick, you'll find this useful. The process isn't too unsimilar when you do it for Linux. I'm sure you should be able to Google search it and find something. Let's go ahead and do a build. Let's just build it. Place this current existing server. Alright, and then here also build some clients for us. Okay, so create some clients, client.exe. Okay. How comes the server and client are separate projects? They're separate projects because that's the best architecture to scale this platform. The goal is to have the server completely isolated from the client. The server handles all the core logic, and the client is responsible for the representation. It's also how it's done in a lot of MMORPGs like World of Warcraft or RuneScape or anything like that. Sweet. So I got this dude like doing a revamp of. So I'm also rebranding my channel, by the way, to Game Dev John for everything. So this guy is helping me with some logo design stuff. Let's see how they look. We got John Weinberger. Let's see. John Weinberger. Oh my god, dude, killing me. That one's actually not too bad. Alright, good deal. Cool. Alright, so check this out. We have our client here. Let's go ahead and pop up another client. Alright, and then here's our server. And what I'm going to do with the server is I'm going to run it in headless mode. So I'm going to go to the command prompt, and I'm going to tab to the server.exe. I'm going to say server.exe. Okay, and I'm going to say dash batch mode. And when I hit enter, right now the server is running. Right, and if we look at the terminal here in the task manager, you're going to see here, check it out, the server, where is it? I actually don't see it. 1 second. Maybe it didn't run properly. Batch mode. Run it again. I just had this working like not too long ago. Let me see here. Right, I am doing, yeah, server.exe batch mode. Let me see here. It is easier to make it authoritative. Yeah, it is. Alright, so 1 second here. I want to, not Facebook, I want to check, let's see, running exe headless mode in Unity. Maybe I'm missing another flag or something. Let's see here, unity.exe, and I believe it's batch mode. Yeah, dash batch mode. Dash quit on launching Unity silently on 64-bit. Quit batch mode serial. I don't think I used all of this stuff, but maybe I did. Let's see. Multiple Unity instances cannot open the same project. It looks like the other instance is already running. Oh, interesting. Okay, 1 second. Server. Client. I don't see it on there. Hold on. Let's see. Batch mode. Run Unity in batch mode. This should always be used in conjunction with the other command line arguments because it ensures no pop-up windows appear and eliminates the need for any human intervention. I think this stuff perhaps. Huh, I actually don't know why that's not working. Batch mode server.exe. Oh, well, you know what? That could be why. Hold on. Can the character move in the world? He is networked, so he will be able to, but currently I don't have any movement set up. I'm working with a level designer now to create the starter town. Alright, well, I can't get it working in headless mode right now. I don't know why. It was working earlier. I'll have to look into that later. But what I can do is, let's see here. I wonder if it actually has to do with these things being open. I'm not really sure. Alright, either way. Right now we have the inventory done server side. I need to finish it on client side now. So I'm going to hop over here to the client. And let's see here. When I log in, I want to be able to click that sword. Alright, so here we have the content. We have a world item here called sword. And I want this object here, when it gets clicked, I want to notify the server that it was clicked and give it an ID, right? So here, we need something on this sword. So here we're going to have, let's have like a interactable or something like that. So we're going to create an interface that's going to handle interactions with world objects, okay? So what we're going to do is we've defined what an item is here. Now we need to kind of create an item interaction. So let's see here. How do I want to do that? Trying to think what would be the best way to do this. I think we'll create something. Okay, yeah, here. Inside item, we're going to go ahead and create a C# script called interactable. Alright, so this is a... Oh, you know what actually? Hold on. This is going to be... this is a world object, not just an item. It's a world object. So how should I handle that? This is like game world item, not just an item that is displayed to the user. This is actually like a physical object on the floor. So here we have our world items. So maybe we'll go ahead and say, let's see, we'll call it world item. Right, so we have world item. Okay. World item. That's all good, Rick. World item. And alright, let's see here. So here we have a world item, and it's going to be of type network behavior, I'm imagining, because I need to possibly synchronize it over the network, I imagine. Let's see. I don't really like this. World item, network behavior. Let's see here. But what defines that world item? Okay, so here we have a world item, right? And let's go ahead and say that this world item inherits from network behavior, and it has one thing on it. It has public item, we'll say my item, right? Or here, we'll say item. So what I can do now on the server, okay, is on this sword, I'm going to give it the class of world item. So here we have world item, and what you can see here is that we can go ahead and give it, we can define this item, right? So we can go ahead and say here that the sword is going to be named sword, the ID And ideally, actually, what I want to do is when we initialize this guy, when we initialize the world item, we should go ahead and assign it already. So hold on. I can assign it through the inspector, which is fine. But I need to make sure that it matches the item database. So I'm going to do it through the item database. So here, void start. We're going to go ahead and say item equals item database dot instance dot items and 1. Alright, so if we run this just to go ahead and test it, and if we spawn this in, you're going to see here that spawn object for sword clone, network server is not Unity engine, network server dot spawn. Network server is not active, cannot spawn objects without an active server. Okay, did not like that. Isn't it better to use tags or something? Hey, what's up, Code? Tags in terms of what? And I'm going to go ahead and say no, because you can only have, I believe, 32 tags in your game. I'm going to have, like, maybe 10,000 items one day. So, I think it's this network behavior. I'm going to change that back to a mono behavior. So we have this world item. Let's go and retry this, spawn that in. Alright, we're going to run it. We create spawnable object for sword clone. What does it not like? It has a network identity, a network transform, world item. Hold on. Spawn object for sword clone. Network server is not active. Cannot spawn objects without an active server. Unity engine network.network server.spawn game object. Okay, weird. I'm not 100% sure what it doesn't like. Hold on, let me remove that. Try this again. Oh, that's weird. What just happened here? Huh. This was working a second ago, right? That all happened. Cannot open socket on IP and port. Check your network. Oh, did I accidentally hit something? No, localhost 7777. Weird. I don't know what the hell it's complaining about. Why is it giving me these errors? Cannot open socket. Check please your network. Most probably port has been already occupied. Okay, doubtful. I made up this port. And need to attach that script to every item. Okay, right. So isn't it better to use tags? Okay, right. I mean, it's kind of weird to be in need to attach that script to every item. Right, so I don't want to attach that script to every item, I don't think. So imagine you have a game world the size of World of Warcraft or RuneScape, right? How do you go about defining all those world objects? I imagine I might have to add some sort of definition script on each object, and basically define those objects. So like this sword, how does it know it's a sword? Where does it get its properties? Well, if it has a world item, then it can have its sword properties. Do you really have a whole MMORPG with quest level and more? Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what we're creating, Rick. So right now I'm having server connection issues though. I'm going to go ahead and start it over. I'm going to go ahead and stop that server, stop the client, rerun this stuff, save, quit, and quit. Alright, let's reload the server. I think servers are running in the background. Oh, you know what? I think you're right. Is that headless mode like now working? I don't think so, but I'm going to delete that command process anyways. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and run this again. Damn it. Alright, yep. I think somewhere a server is being called already. Or it's running in the background somewhere, and for some reason it's not showing me. How do I view, like, there we go. Oh, dude, it was. Look at that. The server was running in headless mode. I knew it. Alright, check that out. So here, let me demo this for you guys so you can actually see this. It's pretty cool. So here, I'm going to go ahead and just turn this off. And we're going to go to our folder over here. Thanks, Yays. So check this out. Go to Unity 5 MMO. Let's go to the client, the server. Right? I'm gonna open up the command line from here. I'm gonna say server.exe -batch mode. All right. Right now the server is running. I'm gonna open up this client. Open up 2 of them. And what I can do here is I can log in to 1, log into 2. All right, we're logging with admin. And over here, Pied Piper. And there we go. As you can see, we're both logged in. We both can see the sword, and I can talk to each other. All right, so that's how you run in headless mode. You would do the similar operation for Linux. Horde gang invading area right now. Gotta wait. Nice. Okay, so check more details. Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right, so I'm gonna go and shut these clients down, shut the headless server off, so I can actually run it in the editor. Here we go, server. Make sure the server's off. Good deal. All right, let's go ahead and reopen these projects. All right, so here is the server. And now what I want to do is when I spawn it in, we have the sword. It has no script, so let's go ahead and add that. So where's that world items? Let's go ahead and just organize this a bit. Scripts for world items. This is going to be a world item definition script, I guess. Let's call that world item definition. Alright, we have world item definition. Close that. Make sure Unity syncs it up properly. Okay, delete this. Alright. So what I'm going to do here is on the item on the sword, we add a world item definition script. Alright, and you can see here that it's defined as nothing except for the fact that when it gets spawned in, alright, it becomes a sword. So now I know the server knows that, hey, there's a sword over here. So yes, I think honestly I'm going to have to. Every sword is going to have that definition script, and it's really okay because I'm going to fill it out right here. When it gets instantiated, ooh, actually, you know what? That's a problem. Although no, I can world item definition. Huh? We might. Okay, you know what? Hold on. You're right. I shouldn't have to. Gotta make this easier. One thing we can do. What if I could do where I could have a drop down of different items, right? Like, what if I could just pick an item? I could say like, what if I want item, you know, sword, fish, whatever, sword, scimitar. It'd be nice if I could pick an item and then it would populate it with that item. Now, in order to do that, that might actually be a little bit more difficult. I would have to create some sort of like enum to where I can create like a drop down of items in the database. Let me see here. Let's look at doing this. Let's go to Google. Let's see. Of items in list. C#. How to create a drop-down menu when forms, clearing a drop-down list, how to add an item to a drop-down list. Hold on. Let's see. List to enum. C#. Here we go. During runtime, a list string of mine is filled with about 10 strings. So our database, our items database, has 10 items. I'm using the property grid and need to display these strings in a combo box in the grid. I created an enum before compiling and filled that with strings, and that went into the convex A, but now I have a list of strings I need to maybe convert to an enum. I assume at least the object instance you want to edit through the property grid has the possible values. Yes. So here, type converter, type value, type converter. I have no idea what the hell's going on here with this value type converter stuff. Okay, so you are looking to convert a string to a corresponding enum value. If so, it can be as easy as this. Let's see here. Enum value 1, value 2, value 3. Get list of names. Oh, okay. Enum.getNames, type of my enum. Okay, size destination array. Okay, sweet. Alright, we're going to use this example. I'm just going to put this on the other monitor. So the first thing we're going to do is we are looking to convert a items database to a corresponding enum value. Alright, let's see how that actually looks, right? So say I create an enum here. So we have a public enum of items, right? And what we're going to do, let's go and just populate this with, say, let me see if I can actually do this. Can I do item database? I don't think so. Item database, no? Can I do dot? Okay, I can't, it doesn't like this. Okay, hold on, something's not complete here, I think. Huh, okay. So here we would have enum items, and then ideally I would like an enum of actual items. So here, like, yeah, okay, I think these are just names actually, although maybe not. Item database dot instance, let me see here, dot items 0. I just want to see what happens if I do that. It's upset about something. What is it? Yeah, okay, it does not like that. So items here, we're gonna just do this. Let's say sword, fish, spear, and flower. Okay, we'll save that. And what the enum is going to allow me to do is basically define each one. Hey, I think you make a good job. You have an about and like. Awesome. Thanks, Rick. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at this. Alright, okay, here. So we have this enum of items, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say public items and then item. And what that's going to allow me to do, right, is I can go through now on this item and I can say, oh, that's not like, okay, yeah. So check this out. I can go through now on the enum of items and I'd be able to pick one. So that's maybe how we'll do this. So if you look here, you'll see here I have an item and I can define the item. Now the problem with this, right, is what if I have 10,000 items? Okay? I have 10,000 items. Am I going to search through all of these items? Hell no, right? So the best way to actually do this from a designer standpoint is let's just define public int item ID, okay? And from that, what we can do is we'll just give it the item ID. That's a lot easier on our part. And what will happen is we can go ahead and say, we can say public int item ID, and we will go ahead and say on void start, we will assign this item. So here we have public item. All right, we're going to say here item equals, we're going to say item equals items database, item database dot instance dot items. We're going to use link. All right, we're going to say item equals item database dot instance dot items dot first or default, and we're going to find the first item whose item matches the ID that the designer gave it, which would be me for now. So we're going to say item goes to item.id matches item ID. All right, and that's going to return the item. So I'm going to save this. All right, we're going to look at the sword here. We're going to say item ID 1, okay? And I'm going to run it. And check this out. If I click on the sword, item ID 1, and now it has the sword. All right, now let's go ahead and try this. What if I were to create in the item database, say element, let's go ahead and create another one. We'll say fish, item ID 2, nice piece of fish. We'll do element 3. This is going to be ID 3. So 0, 1, 2, ID 3. This will be spear. We'll say 3, and we'll say sharp and pointy. Okay, so check this out. All right, I'm going to head over to my sword here, and we're going to go ahead and actually maybe I can just, maybe this could be just a generic item. It could be just a generic world item. you know, because it doesn't have to be anything. And then what I could do here is I'm going to say I want this to be item ID 2, right? We'll go ahead and run this. It will spawn that world item. And check it out. It's a fish, 2, nice piece of fish. And I think I like that better. That means I don't have to really duplicate anything. We created our world item here. 1 second here. World item. Now what I wanted to do is on start, after I assign it that, I want to say this.name or gameObject.name, which I think is handled through this.name, equals the item.name. Alright, so watch what that does. When I click on the world item here, I'm going to set the world item that I want to create. Alright, I'm going to say item ID is going to be 3. And then we'll go ahead and run this. And you'll see here, now it's a spear. Alright, now we can actually take this a step further, right? Because now, what if I have 500 of these items? It's a little confusing just seeing world item, world item, world item everywhere. Maybe what we can do is we can actually, in the editor, update this in real time to make it easier for myself and anyone else who's making items for me. So he says the server save auto the user data and inventory. Right, so at a later time, the server will have an auto tick of maybe 600 milliseconds. It will save the user data and inventory. That's typical what it is. I think RuneScape is on a 600 millisecond tick. So that way it's not too processor heavy. And I'm going to try and make it to where, I don't know, I got to figure out how to do it. Ideally, I want to do it where not everyone is done at once, but it's sort of like incremental, you know, so that no one's getting lagged or anything like that. We'll tackle that when we get there. Okay, so check this out. Let's make this even better, okay? I want to do public class world definition, world item definition. And actually, I can just call this, I think, world item, don't you? Or maybe I should give it definition. I don't know. World item. No, let's call it world item. Save. Head over to here. Alright, we're going to just remove the definition world item. Alright. On the sword, or on the world item, we're going to add that world item script. So there, good. Alright, now check this out. Let's populate this in real time. So here, we're just going to add an attribute for execute in edit mode. Alright, I'll save this. Alright, and if we look at the world item, oh right, okay, hold on. I think I need to give it a method name, possibly. Execute in edit mode. Let me find out how execute in edit mode works. Hold on. Execute in edit mode, print awake. Editor causes this awake. Oh, okay, interesting. How do I actually call that method though? The print awake script is placed on a game object. The awake function is called when the game object is started at runtime. The script is also called by the editor. An example is when the scene is changed to a different scene in the project window. Oh, okay, I see. No, I don't want that. That's not what I want. Hold on. Update inspector editor in real time. Editor window.update. Oh, I'll have to create a whole new, I'll have to create a custom inspector for this. Okay, not doing that right now. Very annoying. Alright, so maybe not that. I could have sworn there was something that allows me to like call certain things, but maybe not. What I can do, however, though, possibly. No, maybe not. Alright, well, for now, I think that's okay. You have a world item here, so say you're going through, you're spawning world items on the server, yada yada yada. Alright. What we can do on each one is I can go ahead and say this is going to be item ID 1, and this is going to be, say, item ID 2. We'll run this. And as you can see, well, it didn't work because I didn't spawn them in, actually. But let's go ahead and actually spawn 2 items in, perhaps. So here we have our world item for the prefab. Oh, this is for the sword, so it's actually defined there. Yeah, we'll have to figure something out for how we want to do this. essentially, I don't know what the best way to do this would be. We'll have to figure it out as we go along. For now, though, this world item could be anything. So it thinks it's the sword right now. So let's go ahead and set it back to 1. And when we spawn it in game, it will take whatever the item ID 1 is, which is sword. Alright, so one thing we can do though is to differentiate, we're going to say this.name equals, we're going to say world object plus item name. That way it's a much cleaner way to debug and see what's in the world. Alright, so here we go, world object sword. Alrighty, change that to caps. Alrighty, so let's head over to our item database real quickly. Just want to update this sword. Alright, so our inventory is working server side. Now we need to go ahead and fix it client side. So let's open this up. So open up the client. Let's see here, the server save auto, these are data inventory. Whoops. Okay, so here's what we need to do now. Alright, when I spawn in that sword, okay, the player can see it. What I want to do is when I click that sword, okay, I want to, when I click that sword or that world object, whatever it is, I want to send a message to the client or to the server asking them, let's see. How do I do that? Hold on. Let me test this out real quickly. I need to see what gets spawned on the servers on the client side. So here we're gonna go ahead and run the server. Alright, we spawn in a sword, a world object sword. We'll come over here to the player. Let's log in with admin. Okay. So here, inventory initialized. So here in our game we have a sword, okay? So the properties of this sword is that there's nothing on it really, it's just the sword. Essentially the client side, I imagine I'm gonna need some sort of model on it, right? I'm gonna need something that, no, hold on. Let's see, when I spawn this item, I need this guy to know it's a sword. So, for instance, check this out. If I were to change world item here, okay, to a 2, and I respawn it, and we log back in, right, you'll see there that a spear was spawned, right, or a fish was spawned. If I go back into the client, inventory initialized, game, let's see here, inventory initialized. Here, you can see it's still a sword, so the client thinks it's a sword. So what I need to do is the client needs to know what this is, right? So how can we do that? How does the client... That's the goal, right? The client needs to have information about what this is. And when I click it, the server should already know what it is, and it should say, hey, you're trying to add this item, which is item ID 2. Okay, so if we click on this world object fish, item ID 2, name ID, description. And when I hover over it on the client, it should say name fish, description, nice piece of fish, and so forth. Right? So how do we get that info now to the client? I imagine when we spawn it in, there should be some information. Let's see here. So looking at the client, how do we spawn it? I'm imagining we're doing that from the client. Let's see. Let's see. Here, 1 second, guys. I gotta accept this order here for a second. We got John Weinberger. Alright, 1 second guys, I just need to check something here. Okay, so, 1 sec. Save it. Alright, save it. Alrighty, hold on guys. I'm like rebranding here with my new logo and stuff like that for Game Dev John. So, and I'm starting to do some more stream stuff. Okay, here we go. So, let's go ahead and take a look here. So, how do I spawn that sword client side, right? So, that happens when we spawn in a new level. And the way we do that, okay, and the way we do that is through, where is it? That's when you load the next level. So login request, process server response, right here. We load scene. Oh, and actually, I'm sorry, you know what? We don't actually. Hold on. When does this happen? Oh, okay, this happens automatically as soon as the... Weird. So I register the prefab, and the server spawns in. It just automatically works. Like it's magic on Unity's side that it just automatically works. I do this. I say register prefab playerinfo.instance.sword prefab. Okay, interesting. Oh, okay, right. Okay, this may or may not work. Now, actually, this would work. These are world objects. So typically in the game, right, like in RuneScape, you can walk around and you can pick up some objects that are world objects. They never change. And if, like, you wait around for a minute, they actually come back. So, like, you can pick up, like, a potion every 3 minutes at this one spot. So this might actually be okay. What that kind of leaves me with here is that for world objects, we're only going to have so many world objects that you can interact with, right? Like, think of a world object as something you can pick up on the ground that's always there, as well as things you can interact with. Like, a door is a world object. A mining spot, like a rock that you can mine, is a world object. An anvil to smith on is a world object. So here, I am going to have to actually design this in a certain way, because I need to define the 3D model for each item. So, on our server here, okay? On the server here, I might not need... I don't know if I need to define the actual 3D model of this. I don't think so. I don't think I need this world item script at the moment. I'm going to remove this for now. Like, looking at this world item script, let's go and just say script. Whoops. Here's our world items. Alright, we're going to call this global items. Okay, we're going to put our world item in here. This is going to be our sword. Alright, and I don't think I need the mesh renderer. I mean, it's good for debugging purposes, but I want to try this. I want to see what happens if I remove this. The network transform, you can't move these objects. World object, network identity, the capsule collider. I may want this because I don't want you to be able to walk. Although, no, I won't have to worry about it because the nav mesh we're going to work with. So, delete everything. I just want this. Alright, this is all I want. And I'm going to remove this world item script. I just want to save this and see what happens here. So on my network manager, I'm spawning in this sword on the server as a global object. And if I run this, it should still work as normal is what I'm hoping for. And this will allow, okay, yeah, so it spawned the sword, okay? And if I run this on the client, admin 57. Okay, so here we go. And it did. It spawned the sword just fine. Now this is a better way of doing it because now it's less resources on the server. Alright, and you'll see here that for some reason, whoops. Yeah, it's less resources on the server. Instead of me having to render the player, I can just render the world object of the sword, which is ideally what I want. Alright, so here's how we're going to do this. What I'm going to do is we spawn it on the server. Alright, so we have this sword object here with the network identity. It just spawns it on the server. These two objects should be able to be in sync over the network. Now, the question is, how do I sync those objects? How do I get information about that object, right? So, let's see here. I have this world item script. I don't know if I even need it anymore. I do actually, because I need to define the sword. So here I'm actually we're gonna keep this the same. Alright, so for the sword, right? I know that the item ID for a sword is a 1. So we save this. Let's run it again. Alright, you'll see here, world object, sword created, item, that. Alright, that's good. Now, when you interact with it on the client, which you can see here when I log in, there's got to be a way to communicate back to the server that you have clicked this object. That's what I'm looking for. So username, let's see here, username, admin, test. Let's go and log in. Alright, so here we go. So you have our world object. Alright, it's a sword. Now this guy knows it's a sword because I'm instantiating it as a sword. Alright, because I have it here. I have my content, world items. We'll create a new folder in here called global items. Alright, so inside here we're spawning that sword, right? Now what happens when I click that sword? Like, how can I communicate back to this? These network identities are in sync. Like, check this out. I believe if I were to remove from the server, this world object, so I'm going to delete this, it should remove it from the client as well. And let's see here. And it does. It deletes it from the client. So there's some sort of connection between them, and I should be able to interact with it. And I need to be able to get properties from the server over to the client. So that's what I need to figure out how to do. Let me see here. Let's see, John Weinberger. Shoot. Let me see here. Alright, hold on guys, I gotta check something here. Let me see here. Alrighty, so here's what we're going to do. I need to figure out how to communicate between objects. Let's see here. Communicate client object. Communicate network client object in Unity. In Unit. No. Where? Hold on. Object sync units. Let's see here. I've spawned in my player and I can easily sync them as I can check for a local player, but each player has been being controlled. Yeah, basically all I need to be able to tell the gun belongs to the player. Yes, you have a network identity and a network transfer point on your gun. With the network server.spawn with client authority, you spawn your gun on each player. Let's see here. Hold on. Alright, let's see. What can I do? So yes, you have to add network identity, network transfer point on your gun. With the network server.spawn with client authority, you spawn your gun on each player. The gun which belongs to the local player should have authority, has authority flag on the network identity component. No, that's not what I want. Alright, give me 1 second. I gotta talk to a network buddy of mine who is pretty familiar with this. Let me see here. I can get some information. Alright, let's see. Servers, use a dude in inventory. Trying to think here. Alright, so let's see here. For sharing assets between client server, I think we should look into asset bundles. Asset bundles could be a way to share assets. I'll take a shot at this and see what I can Let's see. Alright, hold on guys, I'm talking to a guy who's familiar with some networking stuff. Let's see, I want to display the spawned item as the... Trying to think, there's got to be a way. I'm missing that data layer right there, that connection layer, right? So we spawn a world object sword on the server, and that sword corresponds with the sword on the client. The sword, but the client doesn't know anything about items or anything like that. It's just for visuals, right? So this is the sword 3D model and all that good stuff. So when you click it, I need to send... Let's see, I wonder if I need like an interactable... I need some sort of interactable... Let's see... Ugh, gosh, what a pain in the ass. I need to be able to communicate between these two, and without the sword having any item definitions on the client. So, how can I do that? Because this is just a 3D model. It's supposed to be able to pull everything from the server. So that's what I need it to do. Hold on, guys. I have to talk to this dude real quickly. It's messing up like my logo stuff. Hold on. Alrighty, let's see here. So, I'm talking to this guy. He's helping me out a bit. Do I need some sort of interactable on the client side? Alright, let's see here. He's dealing with all this stuff. Yes, see, must. My pseudo workflow would be something like, let's see. Server creates the sword. Server informs clients about the sword, including sword properties such as name, damage, etc. Client receives sword spawn information and instantiates it in the game. So that's where I'm at. The client informs network identity. The client uses get component network identity on the sword and retrieves the unique identifier on the sword. I'm fairly certain that unique identifier resides inside network identity. The client informs the server that it wishes to pick up sword with IDX. Okay, so that's what I'm at. The client doesn't know the property of the sword. You have to send it from the server to the client. Okay, so let's see here. I would have an item definition. Let's see, I would have an item def message base I'm sending over the network, I guess, is what I think we're going to use here. Let's see. Here. Alright, so let's see here. Let's see, do you have a network behavior on the sword? And no, I don't think you should go with an item def message. Alright, let's say you have this class, public class sword, network behavior with a sync var, public int strength. This would be on the client. Ah, crap. Okay, so I guess item definitions. What's this? Alright, so we're gonna, yeah, okay. So basically the client and server has to know. So it's not just the assets, it's also going to have properties. And it will be sync varred to the server. Oh man, dude, this might actually really suck. When you say item def, you mean the item definition? Yes. Yes, the name, ID, description, stats, etc. Shoot! Man, that sucks, guys. Not gonna lie. Huh. So, what we can do... Let me look at this. I might have to turn this into another stream because I'm going to have to take a break for this one. But essentially what I may need to do is, I think world items, global items... I think we're going to have a definition on the client for each item. But if that definition changes... Oh man, this is going to be a mess. I don't actually like that. There's got to be a better way to do that. The list of all possible swords you can create in the game should not be on the client. That should only reside on the server. However, you need some sort of class that can handle a sword representation. Okay, right. Okay, so... Okay, so I will have my item CS class duplicated on the client server and attached to objects. Let's see here. I do not like that at all, because that means this world item script. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to somehow get a definition. On the server, it is not just a mono behavior. This is on the server. Let's see. How can we do this? See here. See here. I would advise ward items should derive from network behavior. Think of it like this. Network behavior is what binds instances of objects between client and server. If you wish to have an instances kept in sync between client and server, you should make use of the network behavior. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, so I think what we have to do is we're going to have to use a network behavior, because the network behavior will allow us to sync variables. And essentially, this world item class is going to be a network behavior that will allow me to sync it to the item that was instantiated. So here we have a world item, okay, and we have the sword, okay. So item ID is 1, and it gets synced that way. But here, what's important is this now needs to be a network behavior. So using Unity Engine .networking, and then this needs to be a network behavior. Let's see, item this.name world object item name. So it's a network behavior, and essentially what's going to have to happen is the item database. I don't like that though. There's got to be a better way to do this. We have to have an instance kept in sync between. The sync var attribute is a helper attribute. It generates some boilerplate code that makes the server broadcast that variable. Have changed all other clients. Give me an example of a property. Damn it. Shoot. Let's see. Hold on here. Why do you think you need to state each item on the client? Oh, damn. Okay, alright, this actually isn't so bad. Seems a generic item class with properties to fill. Okay, good. Alright, now this is actually really cool. So here's how we're going to do this. So we're going to go in here into item on the client. We have global items, we have world items. We're going to go ahead and say scripts. And we're going to go ahead and say, we're going to go ahead and say world item. So my world item and my item class both need to be on the client. Okay, here we go. Here's how we're going to do this. So check it out. We have here, inside here we have world item. Okay, we have this world item class. It's going to be identical. Okay, it's going to be identical to our server's world item. So over here. So I'm going to copy this. Come on over to here. Copy. All right, we're going to save this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring our item class, copy, bring it on over to the client. Inside the client here, we are going to put this into our player. We're going to have world item. Let's see here. Ah, shit, you know what? I really shouldn't even call this world item. Really, it's not a world item. It's just an item like that you can pick up, right? So, hold on. We're going to redo a bit of this. Let me think this through for a second. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, we can call this world item. That's fine. We're going to do that. World item. We'll have player, scripts, player info, world items, world item. Alright, here we're going to have item. we're going to create a new C# script called item. We're going to add this, so every item has a name, ID, description, yada yada. Alright, and what we can do now, oops. Alright, now what we're going to do is we just have the, let's see here, we just have the, shit, what's it called? Item description. We just need a template for it. Hey.
You understand?
Yeah. Okay. Ken.
Because either I'm gonna go make dinner.
Alright. Yeah, we'll go for a walk. Sure. Yeah, we'll look up soon. Alright, give me a second here. So let's see. So my world item class. Okay, so on the client here we have our item, and then we also have public item, item name, item ID, item description, item ID, item name, item description. This is just the template for the item. On our item world item here, I just need this. I don't need any of this start stuff. I believe I just want these variables. So basically, the world item has an item ID and an item, and it's gonna populate this information from the server. All right, so we have world item there, and then we should be okay. So let's go ahead and test this out. And actually, I'm not gonna be able to test this out. This will have to be for another video. But let's see here. Make sure there's no errors. On the sword here, what I need to do? Okay, we need to add. We need to add something to the sword here. So we're going to add the world item. Okay? And we can give it some item attributes and so forth. The sword, well, this item ID and stuff like that will get populated through the servers. So what it's going to do is when it gets spawned, it's going to go ahead and look at this sword and it's going to map those properties. Alright, and that's how we're going to make this work. I would strongly advise not to create every single weapon as a separate class, even on the server side. Storing them into something easily digestible, such as .xml or JSON, would be the way to go, I believe. I guess you have some ideas on how to store them properly with your experience in DBs. Yeah, absolutely. Alright, so let me go ahead. Alright guys, so what we have here, we have the working solution here. What I need to do now is when they spawn, the client will have to will populate, like I'm going to use sync var, so we're going to look into that for the next video, right?